Welcome to Beyond Cable. It's new ways to communicate with your citizens. I'm Bob Duthaler. I'm the managing partner at DNS Media Group and the president of Jersey Access Group. And this is Jeffrey Belinfante. He is executive board member at Jersey Access Group, and he runs West Milford television station. So we're going to just talk to you guys a little bit about different ways, as the title suggests, communicating. Some stats I'm going to go over, everything with video on the web, and then at the end I'm also going to, it's not part of this, but I'm going to kind of explain to you the franchise, both the process of state and local franchising too. That plays an important role in all of this, and how towns really get involved with communication, getting funding, and things like that. So, all right, that's our background. We've both been in professional television for a few years. Yeah. Jeff went the sports route. He was with NHL and MLB for years. I was in the entertainment side with the MTV and doing game shows, and then on to talk shows with Dr. Ruth and a few others along the way. All right, so today we're going to discuss some social media video trends, discuss some social media video statistics, cord cutters, what that means. I'm going to show you some video samples, and then we'll have a brief discussion on local franchise and state. All right, so we're going to talk about some social media trends. So as I was researching this again and doing this, I found some interesting stats and some statistics that I came up with that I'll share with you that kind of was interesting. But one of the latest trends is micro videos. So what are those? Those are the rise of those short little video clips, 10, 15 seconds long, where they're mainly found on TikTok and Instagram Reels. And the reason is that there's, people's lives are more fast-paced now. People's attention spans are less, so they're calling these little snackable size videos. And the thing is, I think most people, if you watch them, I think you fall down a rabbit hole sometimes when you start to watch these things. You could spend, instead of 2 minutes, it's like a half hour, an hour gone by, and you're like, what did I just watch? But that's some of these videos. So video content that works well on TikTok and Instagram. TikTok in 2020 and 2021 has currently 1 billion active users. So I know that the Chinese government does thank you for that too. So, so also according to a survey that was recently done, Instagram Reels and TikTok, they're saying, are basically interchangeable at this point. They're providing the same amount. All right, so 2022 and 2023 really will be the year to kind of leverage TikTok, Instagram Reels, and make it easier to consumer viewing with that. So vlogging, anybody know what vlogging is? So everybody heard of blogging? So now vlogging is the new thing, just video in depth if you have a specific topic that gets more details with that. The vlog industry has been growing rapidly, and the statistics say it will continue to explode in 2022. Over 44% of internet users watch vlogs. Vlogging continues to be proof that marketers, especially on the marketing side, have known for years that storytelling is the best way to connect with your audience. Through vlogging, you have the opportunity to position yourself as a creator, and whether you were a marketer and it's a brand, but now as a municipality, you're typically a brand too. It's a way to communicate what you want to get out to your audience and do it that way. It's in a more personal manner. And the video element is absolutely necessary to maximize your success. So live videos. So the pandemic really brought about the use of live videos. Everything from a personal point of view, everybody was trapped at home. Now everybody's FaceTiming their people or going live on different things, or events became live. So that became the new thing now too. During the pandemic, as I said, live video skyrocketed. Live video became essential for hosting events and connecting with people. Again, more brought out by the pandemic, and now continues to be a trend. So I'll just take a quick survey here. Any municipalities that did their meetings or planning, zoning, everything prior to the pandemic, just maybe recorded them and just played them back later. And now after the pandemic, that all of a sudden, everything was live. You're live on YouTube, you're live on Zoom, or you're live on Facebook. So anybody doing that now has become? Yeah. So I work for a town, Bloomfield, that, swore that they would never, ever go live. We do a live meeting, people are going to be coming down to they'll be in their pajamas complaining, everything and anything now is live, and it's here to stay, and they're just enhancing now. Now we're live on Facebook, we're live on streaming on the website, we're live on all the video channels as well. So live is a big proponent and of what we're doing, and is kind of here to stay. Then even as we begin to get more connected, like I said, live is still staying. And then what you're finding out is also people who watch live videos on the web, Facebook, YouTube, are staying more engaged. So now you have a captive audience, and people even comment more along the lines of that as well. All right. Social media stats. So I'm going to go into a little stats here. Cisco reported that video would account for 82% of all online traffic this year. So that's a pretty big number. Users engage at a higher rate when video content is live, which we just talked about. Facebook statistics, I can't even speak today. Statistics show that people watch videos that are live 3 times longer than pre-recorded. The average length of Facebook's top 100 videos, though, is only 3 minutes and 23 seconds. So there you go again with the attention span of what people could really consume and take in. 52% of American adults use Facebook to discover news. For the good or bad, we've all seen that. What happened during the the election cycle and everything from false news content and whatnot. But we've seen the newspapers are dying out. They're not read as much, so people are getting their information. So what does that mean to us as municipal people? Well, I think it's an idea that this is where we need to get our material out to people too, how to reach them. Users like Square videos. So they're watched 35% more. So Square videos, so typically if you looked at your phone and you shot, vertically, this is the landscaping. YouTube and Facebook do more of a square, so it's a little tighter. And then this way would be vertical shooting too as well. And then vertical videos are loved 6 times more, but they get less visibility. So go think about that. So that's, you have your square video that people watch and engage more, but the longer vertical videos get more likes.
People don't know how to hold it.
Yes, as video people, that drives us crazy anytime there's vertical. And I guess people are immune to it at this point, but you watch a news segment and they have to blur the whole background on the whole screen because people are using their cell phones to shoot video like that. So cord cutters. So here's an interesting statistic that just happened. I'm going to sit down for this one. In a CNN article in August 22, the headline was, "The cord has been cut." Streaming is watched more than cable. For the first time ever in America, Americans are watching more streaming TV than cable, according to a report from Nielsen. The milestone had long been expected as viewers changed their viewing habits and ditched their pricey cable bundles for cheaper alternatives. In July, streaming amounted to 34.8% share of total video consumption, a growth of nearly 23% within the past year. Cable and broadcast viewerships both dropped over the year, with the former, meaning cable, was 34.4% and broadcast was 21.6%. Both fell around 10% compared to July. Now, the interesting caveat about that is there is no football in July. So once football season changes, those numbers are unrealistic, and broadcast and cable is still the big way to watch TV. All right, but for those who are football fans, have you noticed the change in this year? Right, so now you have Prime Video as Thursday night video. So now if you want to watch Thursday night football, you have to get Prime. All right, so I'm just going to show you a few video samples and go over a few things just so you can see. So here's an example of just one of those short, snackable type videos. All this is just a time lapse. This is East Brunswick, and that was it. And oddly enough, a lot of views. It's just something that people see and say, "Oh, that's the lake in town," and just watch something more.
Thank you so much, the children of Montclair, for sending Santa Claus all these letters. I just want to say, listen, stay home, be safe, be careful, always wear your mask when you're out in public. Wash your hands and stay 6 feet apart. From the Township of Montclair, wishing you a happy holidays.
So once again, just a little holiday brief message. This is an example of just a short 40-second, I think this one is just a 4th of July message. It's made basically with stills and graphics, but created into a video element for people just to see. It was just a message. I'm just going to blow through some of these. We don't need to watch the whole thing. I wish I could change the size of this. It's driving me nuts here. All right, so this, what this is, and you're not going to see it too well here because I see the part is cut off. This is run on their bulletin board system, and who's the famous person, and this turned out to be, I'll tell you when it reveals because I forget his name already, Jesse Eisenberg. So what it was is basically his image was blurred the whole time through. They just did little hints and statistics, and then they slowly revealed, unpixelated his picture and showed them. So I do apologize. I will actually make all this available on a video on our website that you guys could see it. And if anybody wants to see any of these afterwards, I'm more than happy to show it to you too.
Hola y bienvenidos, Bloomfield. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm Councilwoman Sarah Cruz.
So again, these are just a little PSA for an upcoming event in the township of Bloomfield. This was
Parks and Recreation and Cultural Affairs to the
mix of live, some mix of some in studio, some graphics, and then some. Later on, there'll be some stills of some events that happened. This was the art show that they had to kick off the Hispanic Heritage Month.
You can continue to visit the gallery through September 30th. Please be sure to check our township website for hours or call 973-743-9074. On Saturday, September 24th from 1 to 5 p.m. at Felton Field on Floyd
And then this will be a mix of now some video. So all this is a 1 minute, 10-second PSA is what that comes in. So These are used to promote
Food trucks
events
serving Latin cuisine and
throughout the
local
town.
artists sharing-
He's in witness protection. So this was a school announcement. Welcome back to school. So this is mixed with some stock footage that we had, some shots that we've kept over the years. Once again, just to make a PSA about letting people know that schools are back in, safety, watch for children, obey bus stops.
Bus stops, and please obey all school buses.
All right.
As for
So this is Long Hill Township. This is their Sterling Street Parade. So this is the opening of this show. Now this is now getting into some longer form video. This actually ended up being a 30-minute show that is comprised of showing the scenery, showing clips of concerts and events, bands playing, along with interviews throughout the event. But this open is just fast-paced video, sped up throughout there, set to the tone of the music, and just showing the different scenes. All right, so I'm going to stop there with that, and then I'm going to want to talk a little bit about. I think I got that right. So then I'm going to want to go into a little bit about franchising and what's involved in franchising. So in New Jersey, there are two different types of franchising that are available for cable companies in the state. There's what's called the system-wide, or known as the statewide franchise, or local franchising. So your players, I guess, are Comcast, Altice, Optimum, right? Who else do we have? Verizon and
Some cases Spectrum.
Spectrum. Yeah, okay. So those are your cable companies. Currently, right now, Comcast is still the only one that I know that I think is still doing 100% local franchising. So what's local franchising? Well, that means when they come to the municipality and they ask for an agreement for them to use the rights of way to service your town with their cable. Typically, franchise agreements are negotiated with the municipality, and they last for a period of 10 to 15 years is typically what they are. So depending on the time when they do it, sometimes back in the days they wanted a 15-year agreement. Nowadays, I think they're only looking for 10. So it goes back and forth. So what does that mean to a municipality? That's your chance to evaluate the cable company's performance during that period. What are your future cable-related needs? So most of us, as we talked about here briefly, we run municipal cable channels for our municipalities. So in addition to creating videos that we get out on the internet and different ways too, we also run the traditional cable channels too. We get grant funding through these franchises. This allows us to buy equipment, from cameras to broadcast servers, and different things that allow all these things to take place on all different types of medium. So what I hope that if you take anything away from this part is that you go to the BPU website, you find out on the Office of Cable Television, there'll be on the right-hand side a list that says when cable franchises are up. Find your municipality and see when does your current cable franchise expire. So if you're in 2025, right? So let's use that as an example. You actually already should have started your cable franchise negotiations, because prior to your franchise agreement expiring, it's 3 years backdated that you start what's called the ascertainment phase. That's your township's chance to evaluate everything that the cable company's done. Have they performed well for you? You know, what are the complaints? Do you currently have a cable channel? No. How do I go about getting a cable channel for us? Then, you explore, okay, we don't have a channel, we'd like to have a channel, but I can see that it's going to cost us, $50,000 to get gear and things in place. Well, then you would request that for a grant from that. So these are all the different things that you need to evaluate and look into during that process. The cable companies hope that you never do that, because if you don't explore it, then they'll just happily offer you nothing, move on, and collect the franchise fees. Now, if anybody who's on the financial end knows that the franchise fees come once a year to a municipality, it's the third week in January. They'll get a lump sum. So the cable companies throughout the year collect those franchise fees, make some nice interest off of all that, then hand you the lump sum of, without the interest, of the fees that they collected. All right? Those fees in New Jersey go to the general fund, but they were designed, the purpose of them and the creation of them by the BPU was for municipalities to create television stations on cable and to use that to create little video shorts or long form or cover council meetings and things like that. That was the design purpose of those. Then you have what's called the system-wide franchise, which Verizon, when they entered the state, that's the route they chose to go under. Under there are no grants. They did away with that. But what they did do instead was they increased the franchise amount that you get. Basic cable under local franchising is 1.5% of basic cable. Under the system-wide, it's 3.5% of gross cable. So now more funding is coming into a municipality during those times. Should there ever get to a point where Comcast and Verizon or Optimum and Verizon or any of those are in the same municipality, and Verizon comes and they pass at least 60% of the homes in your municipality, then the local franchise agreement changes, and now they go up to 3.5% of gross cable too. So now the funding's increased. And when I say pass 60% of the homes, they don't have to serve 60% of the homes. Their just lines have to pass through at least 60% of your community for that to change. There are many communities I know that Verizon fills out 100%. There are some that really they just pass through small portions of that too. So under the system-wide franchise, what do you get? Well, by law, you're allowed 2 cable channels. Okay? And by recent negotiations that we recently did, one of those channels can be high definition. So that is a first in the state of New Jersey, that high definition channels can be available for local municipalities. Recently, Comcast has also started negotiations, people who request it, of getting an HD channel as well. So now you know that's on the table. So, I mean, I don't think, does anybody really watch TV in SD format anymore, right? I mean, you start your channels in the 500s or 800s, depending on that, and you go up. So the days of watching, channel 2, if you put in channel 2, usually says press OK to go to 502 or 802 to watch it in HD. So that was the thing that our organization, JAG, that we fought for, trying not to leave municipalities behind and left stranded and kept out of the HD zone. So that's it. So what else do you get from the local system-wide franchise? You get the 2 channels. Every municipality has internet access. They get 1 drop to every building that the municipal owns. So that could be a firehouse, police station, civic center, senior center, town hall, libraries, schools. They're all allowed a single drop of internet as well. So those are the 2 basic differences between those 2. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff for a few more things, but I'll have some more video samples, and then we'll open up to questions and allow you guys to answer some things as well.
I wanted to do a little housekeeping here. I'm just curious. we've got a pretty good group here today. How many of you are actually public information officers or are responsible for communicating with your citizens? 1, 2, 3. Okay. How many of you are IT professionals who are here because somebody told you had to come here and learn about video? Oh, less than I thought. Okay. All right. And finally, how many of you are involved with your municipality on a like a councilwoman or a mayor? Oh. Right. Aha. So we have an interesting mix of people here. You know, it wouldn't have been all that long ago when you came to a meeting like this with JAG. You would have been talking about cable television. And if there's one message today that we want you to leave this room with, is that we're not just cable television, and neither should you be just cable television, that there are a number of different ways for you to reach your citizens these days. Bob, in his presentation, talked about social media. We talked about cord cutters. Well, you can't reach a cord cutter. Guy doesn't have cable. He's not going to see your cable television. How can you get to him? JAG can help you get a Roku channel, and Roku has become available. Apple TV, those other, Vudu, there are a bunch of them, right? That we can provide expertise on how to distribute your channel's signal to other alternative methods where your citizens who have cut the cord can still see your programming. The other thing that, you know, unless you've been living under a rock these days, you realize that the way people consume media today has completely changed. Not only are we involved with short attention span theater, like Bob indicated, but we also are now, we watch everything on demand. You know, we can thank Netflix for that, but that's a good thing. So we also will help you make your programming available on demand through your websites and also available through your Roku boxes and other activities. So the message here today is there are other ways for you to communicate with your citizens, and JAG is here to help. Just a couple of words about JAG. We'll do the commercial and then we'll throw it open to questions and what have you. The Jersey Access Group was formed many years ago, and it represented all of the municipal cable channels in the state, or many who joined. And today, our mission is far greater. We're here to help you communicate with your help you communicate with your citizens. Hang on here. Okay. And we serve municipalities. We also serve schools and universities who have content. We also provide distribution methods through a cloud-based server where we can allow you to upload material and distribute it to all our channels. And so we service nonprofits who have messages that they want to get out statewide. And finally, if you're an independent producer and you have programming that would be appropriate, we provide that service as well. And with our cloud-based server, we can actually allow you to program a channel or a Roku channel or a YouTube channel 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because there's material available to do that. JAG also would encourage all of you municipalities to join, because in addition to the technical side of our business, we also provide legislative consulting, and we keep you up to date on things like the broadband effort, the effort to provide broadband throughout the state of New Jersey. There's about $70 million. We had a panel yesterday talking about how that money is going to be distributed. That's what we do with the League of Municipalities for their members, and we are their communications experts, as it were. We also provide consulting services if you choose to buy new equipment. We're a 501c3. We're not making any money on this. We're here to help you better communicate with your citizens. So that's the message. That's the commercial. Any questions? No questions?
All right, so one of the things I would just also talk about is we briefly mentioned cord cutting. So how many people have Roku box at home? Okay, Roku is the #1 selling box right now for communicating. Apple TV. All right, more Apple TV people. Amazon Fire? Okay. So all those people who have those boxes, take a note. Search, just, for your own curiosity, search WBMA-TV Bloomfield on any of those platforms. So the Township of Bloomfield, we have our own channel, our own app on Apple TV, on Roku, and Amazon. So you can watch the channel live during those things. Actually, there are 2 channels, so you can watch both channels live. Then you can go onto our video on demand, just like a Netflix, and you can scroll through the categories. You can choose council meetings, planning, zoning. You can choose community events. You can choose our series. We have exercise programs, summer concert series, all the different things that are available to watch at any time. The beauty of it is we shoot everything in HD, so now you're watching them nicely on HD at home instead of we're still working with Comcast on trying to get an HD channel. So all the great stuff we do, and it brings a tear to my eye when I see that it's all soft and blurry, and you try to read some of the, even if it's just a meeting, you watch a zoning or planning board meeting, and they put up the map and say, okay, here's how we're going to redo it. Nobody can see it, but you watch it on the HD channels or on any of the platforms, it's crystal clear. It's just it's day and night. So these are some of the things that we're trying to fight for. Yes. Could I just ask you one question, only because the league requires, if you'd come to the mic and ask the question, because they record it and they want it right in the middle of the room. Okay. Sorry. I'll get yelled at for it.
Okay.
I get enough of that at home.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Yeah.
Does I have a couple questions.
Yes.
If you don't mind. All right. Does Comcast, are they also required to give access to the municipality for a channel?
So Comcast is not required to give it. It's something that you can negotiate with them during your franchise. So if your current franchise is open right now, you could try to reach out to them and say that you would like to get to one. They are in no way obligated to give you one. If your franchise agreement is within 3 years of expiring, now's the time to work on that and say, our community needs, we want to use this channel. We want it for emergency management. I mean, for anybody involved in emergency management here, yeah, I mean that we utilize the channels all the time for that. Scrolling messages, covering events live or going on site. We just had a big water main break in Bloomfield and Essex County, in that whole area where they had no water pressure and things. So we kept abreast community with updates, and mayor coming on air and doing updates and things like that. So yeah, they're not obligated, like I said, to give you, but it's something you can negotiate. It can never hurt now to reach out to them if you're in the middle and say, we'd like to do that. Again, at least they can maybe start to plan for it or know that it's on their radar, that it's something you guys would like to have. So, yeah.
Okay. So in our town, we have both Comcast and Verizon.
Okay, so on the Verizon end, yes, right now you're entitled to it. You're entitled to up to 2 channels if you want. So what the good part about that is now is get your channel going on Verizon. You can say, hey, Comcast, we want our channel. We're up on Verizon. Well, that's an incentive for them, right? They want people to stay with their platform, and knowing that you're going to promote your channel in your community, they'll be glad to give you a channel as well.
Okay. And then finally, we don't have anything set up, and you said something about the cost of getting set up. I mean, there's a grant. Who's the grant from, and is that for the equipment, whatever, audio, video?
Yeah, so as part of local franchising, you can negotiate a grant with the cable company, which in this case would be Comcast, for your costs. So you would do a little legwork and say, okay, here's what we need. We need a broadcast server. We need a camera. We need a bulletin board system. This is going to cost us $50,000, let's say, to start, okay? And then you can go after grant funding from them and say, here's what we need. I mean, I'm not going to tell you the municipalities, but the latest franchises that I just negotiated with, we just got a $119,000 grant. We got another places, I got two $75,000 grants for them and a $65,000 grant for another community. So what did that entail? That's all capital funding, and that enabled them to upgrade all their equipment. Some of them already had existing studios to make changes, upgrades. One town, we built a video truck, so to covering events throughout the town.
So since we have both Comcast and Verizon, can you do the same with Verizon, ask for a grant from Verizon?
So the way the system-wide or statewide franchise is, there's no negotiation, and that was not part of when the legislators did that. They did not lay out that. Their thought was that you're getting more grant funding. So just as an example, if you were under Comcast and you were getting $50,000 a year in cable franchise, if Verizon came in, that $50,000 probably would have turned to about $150,000. It would have tripled, and Verizon would have tripled that kind of amount too. So they're saying that additional money, the idea is to be used to go buy capital equipment and do whatever to get your channel going. So that's how the
The
legislators looked at
funding
it.
is also kind of, their formula is based on your population and the number of subscribers, so the
Yeah.
larger communities
thank
tend to
you.
get larger
Yeah.
grants.
Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Yep.
And we're here to help you if you wanna go ahead and get something going. I'll be in touch.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi there. So during the pandemic, our town had the idea on our cable channel to promote local businesses and their curbside pickup and things like that. And
Yep.
then there was some question, though, of the legality of promoting, for-profit businesses.
Correct.
And so are there limits, like what are the limits to what you can
So,
put on your municipalities?
You have to think of the channel has to follow almost the guidelines as far as promotion or sale or advertisement is the PBS model would be a good example. So what does that mean? So there's no call to action. So you can't say that, come down to Charlie's restaurant for the $3.99 buffet every Monday and Friday. You can't say come to Acura and lease the new RX for $559 a month. Those are direct calls to action. You can just promote a business or let them know that, hey, we're, Charlie's Pizzeria and we have, everything from pasta specials and family nights and things like that. And you can bring attention to it that way.
What we do is kind of almost a news thing. We do a lot of promotions for.
Come up to the mic, Lee,
For ribbon cuttings.
because they'll never hear you. So.
So we do a lot of ribbon cuttings when new businesses come to town. If a business is providing a service like roadside service, you can do a little piece just on roadside service. You're not promoting the business, you're promoting the idea that they're serving the community by allowing roadside or home delivery or anything like that. So we kind of create a newsworthy event, and once again, and we just do a short video. We'll do a 2 to 5 minute video and we do it for every new business that comes to town that requests it, which is most of them, so.
Go ahead. That's Ken Feldman. He's our attorney, so listen to what he has to say.
Right, you know what the value of free legal advice is. Just to let you know to that question, if you focus on why this is important to the community generally, so I don't think any cable operator would argue that promoting a wide range of businesses throughout the community that are reacting to this pandemic and trying to provide value in a different way, that's perfectly fine. Many of your cable franchises will have provisions in the local franchise in the section that gives you PEG channels that say you can only use them for non-commercial use. So that's really, from a legal standpoint, that's what it comes down to. Are you doing a commercial? As Bob said, if it's a call to action where you're promoting come into this business for these specific things at this price. You know, there's a gray area here, but the closer you get to just promoting a specific business where it looks like a TV commercial, the better chance that you might get a bad reaction from the cable company and could get in trouble for it. The more that this is a community-wide, this is important stuff that our community needs to know to react to current situation, I think you're pretty well insulated.
Here, I think this is a.
Bloomfield Center Alliance and the Township of Bloomfield invited
Can you guys hear it?
Dinner under the stars this summer on select Friday evenings. Join your friends and neighbors in the heart of downtown Bloomfield to enjoy al fresco dining and live entertainment. For more information on this and other BCA events, please visit bloomfieldcenter.com. Please join us Friday, August 2nd for singer and acoustic guitarist Laura Bowman.
So this was an event. So this was the Downtown Center Alliance group of restaurants every Friday night dinner out on the stars. So we ran a series of PSAs announcing the entertainment, the different events and stuff like that. So that's, again, like Lee was saying, or Kim was saying, that's a wide event. Many restaurants are involved. You're not promoting a particular one. So, anybody else?
So I think the important thing to remember when it comes to that kind of commercial thing is that you just have to be careful. Nobody's ever gonna come after you during a pandemic if you're telling somebody that they're offering curbside pickup. That's a public service, all right? And you can make that argument. And the cable companies don't want any bad publicity either. So you can push the envelope a little bit by saying, hey, listen, we were trying to do a public service and they wouldn't let us. They don't want that in the newspaper. So, don't be afraid to push the envelope a little bit. I keep people like Ken in business. Okay? In my career, I did nothing but push the envelope. And I only got sued once.
And one.
And we won, Reggie Jackson, but that's it.
Okay, for you or anyone in the room, I'm just curious, there's a lot of effort that goes into what you're talking about.
Yes.
How are the results compared to putting this PSA or video on Facebook and the social media? Is it just TV, or are you talking about spreading this through the social media?
Yeah, we do it on all platforms. There's no. Honestly, think of your senior population, right? Most of them are not on social media.
I was
right?
thinking about that,
Yeah.
and the families that are running around with their children to every sport there is.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So we feel that every platform is important. So we'll hit it on social media, Facebook, YouTube, and things like that. We'll run it on the TV channels as commercial during programming, and then like I said, then we have our cord cutting channels, which really the channel just mirrors it's linear, just like it is on on cable too. So
Our biggest traffic is YouTube, number one, but we do everything on Facebook, and if we go out to do a big event like a concert, we'll do a little TikTok video of us setting up to let them know the concert's there. We hit Twitter with everything as well, so it's all these different platforms. And absolutely right, the seniors are watching us on the channel, the kids are watching us on YouTube, and we're trying to get the whole
parents are still
township.
on Facebook.
Right.
yeah, right, exactly, yeah. So I mean, it's every platform. So
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning, everyone. I want to pick your Bloomfield brain
Okay.
and see how I can apply it to the borough of Ridgefield. I'm an IT engineer, number one. I'm putting on my councilman hat now and my finance hat. So in terms of how you're shooting your videos, and I'm looking at the 1-minute clips and the graphics and everything like that, you do it all in-house? Do you hire somebody? What does it cost? Proprietary budget, what am I looking at to go forward? Right now, we just have a YouTube channel.
Right.
We broadcast everything on Facebook, but we do it all in-house and it's all volunteer.
Right.
And me and another councilman volunteer our time and our energy to do all that, but at some point, this is gonna grow and we can't keep doing it forever in-house. So
Correct.
Can I ask your advice and also your experience on what I'm looking at, and can I go out and get funding for this?
So going back to the franchise negotiation will get you your capital funding. Okay, that allow you to make your equipment purchases, allow you to get your broadcast server so you can go on the air, a bulletin board system, so no one's going to be playing 24/7 programming, right?
No.
So we have informational slides, and those are just as important. It allows the community to say, oh, hey, that's right, today's the sign up for recreation basketball, or this event's happening. So they don't just need to be just bland video. You can make shorts, you can make them good graphics, all to help development of the look of a bulletin board. Our bulletin board is broken up into thirds, really, like L-shaped. We have the main quadrant that has all the different slides of events and things happening. We have local weather that's running, which is actually all graphics too. And then we have a news ticker that runs down below. So it's something that's always changing, that keeps it. And then we have a music bed that's tied into it. So at least, someone put it on, they can actually just listen to the music in the background as well, and goes on. So it's not just, a PowerPoint slide. It's a little something more to that.
So to produce the 30-minute clip, you hire somebody, you do it in-house, do you have volunteers? How do you do it in Bloomfield?
So in Bloomfield, so I run Bloomfield's channel, and I'm hired as an outside consultant to run it. So that's the route they chose. Initially, I was brought in as an employee or a part-time, and they decided that as the channel grew, that they wanted to take it away from falling under an employee style. And I basically started my own company, and that's how they paid me as a professional service.
So you do everything as a
so
contractor.
anybody, so if anybody who may be hired a cameraman or to cover, basically falls under my company and does that. Now that's not the only model. Lee back there at Woodbridge, he has a staff. They have a staff of about 7 people that cover their events. They work 7 days a week. They're on a rotating schedule, 4 on, 4 off, I think, or something like that.
I have people here 7 days a week to
Yeah,
cover events.
so they cover events that way. And then there's the volunteer. I mean, most stations, oddly enough, usually start out of a closet and a couple of volunteers.
We're all volunteer in West Milford.
Right,
And,
Jeff.
it has its challenges, but we're able to program, thanks to JAG, we're able to program a channel 24 hours a day. We have our council meetings and everything else on video on demand. We service the community that way. We cover, there are 3 of us who shoot, all right? And we kind of spread it out. I do the council meetings, and we have 2 council members here today from West Milford. Ada and Marilyn are in the back of the room. And we turn out a channel, all right? And we do get a grant from our cable company every year, not a lot of money, but we got an initial grant, right, Ada, from Altice. It was Cablevision back then, all right, to buy the equipment, to buy the server and the camera. In fact, that's our camera. Am I supposed to say that?
So you're funding it through the franchise fee from the cable.
Exactly. For capital, that should be explained.
Yeah, it was a capital, yeah,
Yeah,
because it was a negotiated fee. We expect, however, that our next round of negotiations with Altice, and we only have Altice up in West Milford, unfortunately. We don't have any competitors. But we expect them to say, we're going with the state franchise, which means we may get a few more bucks, all right? But we won't get that grant that we've been used to receiving every year from our cable company. We got an initial grant, and then we get a yearly stipend, if you will. And it's not a lot of money. But nobody gets paid. We're all volunteers. And it's a challenge. And there are things that should be shot in town that aren't shot in town. We get a little help from the school people because they do pay a few bucks to somebody to shoot some of their events. But somehow it all comes together, and it's there. WM77, TV just for us.
Thank you for your time.
One more thing I'll just add, though, going back to the franchise fees. So currently in those local franchise fees goes to the general budget. The one town, I'm not going to mention the town, we were getting about $500,000 a year in franchise. So the ask was, we just want, out of that, we need $100,000 a year to operate the station. So that was the budget. That included, paying people to cover events and to equipment and things like that, the $100,000. So, but I mean, like I said, that was the thought, and that was the idea of the franchise fees. Now, there's towns that don't have channels and don't use that, and that fees go to the general fund, and they do whatever. But the purpose of that was for, hey, the cable companies are coming to use your rights of way, right? They're running a multi-billion-dollar corporation on the backs of the town because they're using the rights of way. Well, the community should get something in return. The idea was, hey, you can have channels. That was under the Cable Act. And here's the franchise fees that you can use to help support that channel. And that was the purpose behind that.
Joe Ryan, Public Information Officer, City of Bayonne. Bayonne used to be a Cablevision community.
Yep.
And when Cablevision still ran things, they felt they had some obligation to us to provide a number of services. When they got replaced by Altice, and then Verizon came in competition, the Altice people said, oh, we are now freed from various obligations to you. We used to have to help you, now we don't, so we won't. Is there some particular threshold of percent of the market that Verizon gets that enables Altice to say that? What's the situation?
So two types of things. So once Altice had competition in Verizon, or at any point actually under New Jersey state law, they could choose to switch from local franchising to the system-wide franchising or state franchising law, which I'm guessing is what they did in your case. Because if they did, meaning you're no longer negotiating a 10 to 15-year agreement, they've said that they want to go into the system-wide, then they're not obligated to give you the grant funding or anything like that. If you are still under local franchising with them, which in many communities they still are, they still negotiate, then you still have that right and power to negotiate and to accept what you want to accept. You don't have to accept their terms, right? That's your duty is to figure out what are your needs, what are your costs, and hey, this is what we want. And that's, that goes back into negotiation. So wiping their hands clean doesn't necessarily, unless they've chosen the state route, which lays out specific things that they're entitled to. And if they are, then here's one of the things that's under the system-wide franchise that most people don't know. They're supposed to provide equipment and training to communities. So if you do not have a camera, or if you're in an area that, hey, we're looking to start a channel, but we don't have a camera, I could send someone, but he doesn't know how to shoot or he doesn't know how to edit. Well, the state law says that they have to provide that ability to get you there. Whether they started doing it at local community colleges, they set it up, or whatever it is. It's their obligation, though, for you to have that equipment and training. You just need to ask for it.
Okay, they used to have a studio.
Yes, right, yeah.
They shut down.
Yep.
And then they said you have to go to Newark, and to Bayonne people being told you have to go to Newark is like saying, forget about it.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, I guess I have to clarify what status they have with us.
Yeah, sure. And feel free to, reach out to us and we can help you with that as well.
Okay, thanks
All right?
very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
We have friends at the BPU.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, gentlemen. My name is Junior Morris. I'm from Haledon, north there, and very interesting things. And what would you say is a good next action for our town or borough that we currently do? We don't have any sort of way to get to anything. What was a good next action to start to work on something like a Roku or any other broadcasting, or like what you were saying here in the local franchising?
So where? Just one more time. Where are you from?
Haledon.
Haledon?
Haledon.
Okay, and you currently don't have a channel?
We have no channel.
You have no channel. And who's your cable provider?
We've got Altice up there.
Altice. All right, so
we got Altice, we got Verizon in the area, those two.
Okay, so if you have Verizon, again, right away you can ask for a channel to be set up for you. But obviously getting a channel, but not having certain equipment in place is not going to do you good. So what are the basics you need? Usually the two things you would probably need are a broadcast server. And what is that? That's just a computer server that takes in video files that you can schedule. You can say, okay, at 12 o'clock, I'm playing the council meeting. At 7 o'clock, I'm playing the council meeting. And that's going to happen every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday and Thursdays, it's at 9 p.m., whatever your schedule is that you develop. Okay? And then the other typical thing that you should probably have is the bulletin board. So what does that do? That enables you to put informational slides, graphics, and things when you're not showing programming. All right? Those are the two basic elements that get a camera going, station going. So if you're capturing your council meetings, either through a stationary camera that some places have in place, or maybe you're just doing planning and zoning and all still through Zoom, you can still record on Zoom. All those could be sent up to the broadcast server to be viewed as well. Now, I know you had another part of the question, I think, right?
Yeah. Even before that, there's no hardware for video cameras.
Okay, so hardware. So again, we're back to the franchising. So you need to figure out Altice. Are you under local franchising or system-wide franchising? Afterwards, I can kind of show you how to do that. But for everybody, you just go to the BPU, Office of Cable Television, under the BPU, and look to see what your franchise is. There's a list. It's updated every year. You find your community. It tells you when your current franchise expires, what starts your ascertainment phase. Like I said, that's 3 years prior to, and things like that. Why the ascertainment phase? I'll say it again. Why it's important? Because it's your chance to do your due diligence. To say, okay, we want to start a channel. Here's what the cost that we found that's going to be involved to get this channel going, and turn to the cable companies and say, this is what we need to do. This is the kind of funding we need to do it, and we're requesting that. Now, if you don't do any of that, they're just as happy, and they'll just say, hey, just request, a franchise review. Sure, and they're on their way. All right. So the more you're involved, the more you do, and our group as an organization, Jack, can help you through those steps as well. Prepare you, let you know what you should be looking for. And to that end, I'm going to let Ken add to that.
Yeah, well, just a couple of points I wanted to make on the funding issue. So to the Bayonne question in particular. So the first thing you got to do is, go back and check, as Bob said, do you have a local franchise with them, or are they under the state statute? And then you got to look at those, either your local franchise or the state statute. And when they come back and say, we're not doing this anymore, your response is, under what authority are you telling me that you don't have to do this anymore? And if they may cite to something that's in their franchise that was done in some negotiation 10 years ago that gives them an out once a competitor comes in. Hopefully they can't cite to anything. If they say, because we're under the state statute now, then as Bob said, you need to become familiar with what the state statute authorize you to demand. Say, okay, well, you don't have to do that, but you do have to do this, and we're going to start to assert the municipality's right to enforce that. Generally, and there was an earlier question about how do we fund this stuff. I think you need to keep in the back of your mind, Bob talked a little bit about cord cutting. Cable franchising as we know it is not going to be here in 10 years. Everything is moving to streaming. Now, the caveat here is, 10 years ago, I was telling people, this is your last franchise that we're going to be negotiating because cable is going away, and it's still here. So I have been wrong before. But if you look at the numbers, if your finance people look at how the trend on your franchise fees, and if you get reports from your cable operators as to how many subscribers they have in your jurisdiction, those numbers are going down. Franchise fees may not be going down as much as the number of subscribers because they keep raising the price of cable service, but that's not a sustainable model. So it's not going to be too long before everybody's going to have an internet connection, and the video content they get is going to be through all of these other content providers, and traditional cable, buy your 120 channels for this set price, it's going to look a lot different. When that happens, there's not going to be any more franchise fees. And I have struggled to try to help people find another alternative revenue stream. I don't see one out there unless Congress changes the law, the way the Federal Cable Act is written. So the bottom line here, and it's kind of bad news, but if it is important to your community to use these tools that you've heard about today to get messages about what's going on out to your public, at some point it's going to need to be funded more from the general fund. Whether you start with a consultant like what Bob does, whether you start with volunteers and see if you can work up to that, at some point the elected officials and the administration are going to need to make a decision that this is something that needs to be funded, just like snow plows and just like equipment to cut the grass at the park and all that other stuff. So part of your role, if this is your interest, is to be an advocate for that within your jurisdiction to make it a priority going forward. Now, there may be ARPA funds that can be used to get something up and running. There may be these one-time funding sources that come into play, but you're going to need to fund something on a continual basis if you're going to be serious about it. And I just wanted to give everybody the heads up that these franchise fees at some point are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and if you want to continue to provide this information, you're going to have to look at funding in a different way.
I'll also just add that, these, whether the channels and the videos you create, you have to look at this from a municipal point. It's a marketing arm of the municipality. You're getting out the information that you want to get out to the public, and in an undistorted way, the way the municipal wants it represented, right? This is your opportunity to do this. Any clerks in here by any chance? Okay. So most towns that have channels or record their videos and do things like that on TV, Oprah requests are almost irrelevant at that point. They don't, or the clerk just says, you want to see the meeting, here it's on our website, or it's on the channel on their video on demand, and you can watch it at any time too. So there's a lot of things that go in hand with that kind of stuff too as well. So.
I also want to point out that, as Ken said, you can fight with the Altice, all right? Because that's what we had to do up in West Milford, all right? They came to us and didn't want to continue to pay what their obligations were, and our attorney got on the phone with them, and they had a little fight, and today we're not best friends, but they're living up to their end of the contract.
I just want to take a second. We are a fully funded station. We're funded by our government. Our town really finds a lot of value in what we do. We reach all corners of the town. We reach constituents you wouldn't normally reach. We reach the high school kid. Every high school kid in our town can tell you the name of the mayor and the name of the assembly speaker, because there are football and baseball announcers, and they know them as those people.
Wow.
We hit all our arts. My town runs 6 concerts a week pretty much in the summer. We don't cover every one, but we cover a huge number of them. And so the arts community knows who we are and who the town is. We cover school events all the time. We have a dedicated person who works for the school, who works for the station. The rest of the station will help him covering school events. So we're doing that as well. We cover all the parades in the town. We cover fire and emergency services things. We cover every new business that comes to town. So we're getting out to constituents in a way that nobody else, can do it. We can reach people in a way, and our town finds a lot of value in it. The other thing is you can get metrics now with social media that you couldn't get with the cable. We used to not know. The way our town realized people were watching is people would come up to the officials and said, I saw this on TV last night, and that's how they would get feedback. We can now look at numbers. We know who's watching on YouTube. We know how long they're watching. We know we're reaching on Facebook. We know. So there is a lot of value in it. You kind of have to get your town involved. But once the audience starts coming in, if you're doing that kind of stuff, they'll keep coming in. And the word gets out independent of us even. And we get lots of feedback on shows. We do allow comments on some shows. We don't allow comments on other shows because comments can get, it can start these little rivalry wars, which we don't want. But we, you know, for arts things and stuff, we do, and we get that feedback. So, and the township gets the feedback as well, by the way. It's one of the things, our best selling points is when something they like or don't like is on the station, they don't call us necessarily. They call the mayor's office. So the mayor gets that feedback as well. So anyway, there's a lot of value in this. Sometimes you have to sell it a little bit because even in this day and age, it's kind of new to townships that they can do this. So, and by the way, we do the political stuff too. We do the State of the Township address, which we now do completely virtual. During the pandemic, we kind of switched over to that, and that model has worked very well for us as well. So we do use it. There's a yearly report that the township used to send out, or a monthly report, and we kind of consider ourselves that part of that arm too. So we are getting out to our constituents on what the government is providing, what services are available, and anyway, I just want to point out that there is a lot of value to this if you can get, you know, started and motivated and going. So,
Yeah, I mean,
community?
Woodbridge Township.
not everybody, you know, obviously that's like the ultimate goal is the Woodbridge channel that I always say, because it's a big, you know, big crew, big staff. But not every channel, you know, as Jeff could tell you, starts that way. They start as volunteers. But
We didn't
once you
start out that way.
Yeah, well, you guys did. But once you guys start covering events and making them a continued thing, people look for that, and it becomes a topic of discussion and stuff. I like to always tell this story more in front of my wife than anybody else, though. But occasionally I do on-air stuff. You know, I'll go cover a scene or event. And we were down in Disney one time, and we're waiting online, and my daughter and my wife were going to go to this Bibbidi Bop hair thing or whatever at Disney. Some of you probably already shaking their heads, they know what it is. And the boys and I were going to go off to Legoland or the Legos. So someone walked up to my wife and said, "Was that Bob Duthaler, the guy on television you were talking to?" Nothing drove my wife crazier than that. She's like, "Oh God, how do you know him?" "Oh, he's on Bloomfield TV." So there it is. But so people are watching, you know what I mean? It's out there. So there are no Nielsen statistics for cable, local cable channels, so you'll never get the cable companies to give you, it just doesn't exist. But like Lee said, if you mirror some of this on social media or even on your website or wherever, you could see clicks and views and stuff like that too, so give you an idea of what's out there.
And just quickly, our #1 show for years was an exercise show for seniors.
Yeah.
That plays all over the state now because we kind of shared it.
Yeah, we carry that up in West Milford.
And the woman who used to do that show, we were in the mall shooting it once because we used to shoot at Woodbridge Center. And some woman heard her voice and tracked her through the mall and knew exactly who she was just by her voice and came over to congratulate her.
The other thing that drives viewership, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or the channel, is local sports. People love to see their kids perform, and so if you can put that together, even a one-camera shot, all right, we find that drives viewership to our channel, so something to think about. I say that as somebody who spent 40 years in the sports business.
And also, and just throw out, you know, if you start a station or you just get involved with JAG and learn about JAG, JAG also has a shared server of programs. So now you could get a station going covering a few of your other stuff, but Lee mentioned that senior exercise, senior size with Paula. Now it's Carol, but we take the program from the shared server and make it as part of our thing. You know, there are shows out there that other communities are doing that, hey, we don't have the budget to do or whatever, but we can get it. When you got fully packaged show, imagine having 35 shows already done that you could just air throughout there. So this helps you build your channel. It gives you a starting point and some places to go with as you mix some of that with your local stuff as well. All right, we got about 3 minutes left. Anybody else have any more questions?
Any other questions?
I have more video samples I can show you now, later. It's up to you guys.
Just run them as they want.
Yeah. Yeah, so I want to bring Ken up one more time. Just Ken, I'm going to ask you to come just talk about the broadband and the BPU and the survey too. Just I know it's
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
an FCC.
All right, last broadband plug of the conference. Yesterday we had a session on broadband funding. There were some folks from the state. There's a whole bunch of money, billions of dollars, that are flowing from the federal government. They're going to come to each of the states probably by the middle of next year, and the state is in the process of figuring out how to distribute that money. A lot of it is going to go to what is called in the statute unserved areas and underserved areas. The way they determine that is the FCC has maps. The current FCC maps are wildly inaccurate. They've been it's the subject of just tons of jokes even. They're so bad. So they're doing new maps. And the new maps are coming out in draft form tomorrow. On the FCC website, fcc.gov, you will be able to find a map of your jurisdiction. It is critically important that you look to see if your community is accurately represented. If it's not, there's a way to provide additional information and evidence and basically protest what's on the draft maps. And JAG will have information on how to do it. The League has said, Frank Marshall at the League told me the League would be helping jurisdictions that would have any trouble figuring out how to do this challenge. In addition, there is a link to a website. Are you going to put that on your website,
we'll
the
have
survey?
it, yes, yep.
All right, so the BP, was it the state broadband office in the BPU is doing a survey to find out from you, because they're going to have to come up with rules on how this money is going to get from the state to localities. And they need to know what is the state of broadband in your community. And one of the speakers we had yesterday had one slide with a link to a survey that it is important that every jurisdiction fill out. So that will be on the JAG website. It will probably be on the State League's website. It's probably on BPU's website right now. So
We have the site, so we're gonna try and see if we can get it up on the screen. You can get the website,
Yeah.
address if you wanna
yeah,
pass it along to
we'll see if we can get half of it up. There it is, the whole thing.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, so write that down, and please, if it's not you, someone in your jurisdiction, get it back. Where did it go?
You pushed the wrong button.
I don't know.
What'd you
Stop.
do?
Hit P for previous, maybe?
Hang on.
No.
What's going on?
I don't know.
Did you
It's,
hit the?
it's on a mine. Right now, it's on a mine, but I don't know.
There you go.
All right,
Okay.
nobody move. Right, get your cameras out, take a
Yeah.
picture.
It actually was.
But it's important because they're gonna dole out that money based on what they understand the need to be in your community. And it may be that you don't need anything in your community, but if you do, please participate.
All right.
How much money is that?
There's total, in the infrastructure bill, there's about over $60 billion. There's one particular program for deploying new networks to unserved and unserved areas, over $42 billion. And that's what's going to be distributed to the states and the territories, in part based on these FCC maps.
Okay?
All right, thanks.
Something to think about.